Are foreign exchange controls still relevant for the Bahamas? This was the theme for the Central Bank's 2022 Financial Literacy Video Essay Competition, which attracted over 70 entries from students in primary school up to the collegiate level. Today, we're going to be talking about the competition and the importance of fostering financial literacy in our nation's youth. We'll also watch two of the winning videos to gain a better understanding of foreign exchange controls. Keep watching. This is You and Your Money.
You and Your Money is brought to you by Central Bank of the Bahamas.
Welcome to You and Your Money, everyone. Joining me today to kick off our discussion on the importance of fostering financial literacy in our nation's youth is Kevin Demeritte, External Relations Officer at the Central Bank of the Bahamas. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's pleased to be here.
The Central Bank recently announced the winners of its third annual Financial Literacy Video Essay Competition. How did this competition initially come about?
Well, the competition really is an outgrowth of the long-term financial literacy campaign that the Central Bank has fostered. Just very quickly, as far back as 2014, the Central Bank inaugurated an extensive nationwide assessment of where we are in terms of our financial literacy understanding, all Bahamians. And coming out of that survey was some concern that as individuals and as Bahamians, we were falling down in terms of our understanding of what's going on in our own economy, particularly in the financial services sector. So the Central Bank took it upon itself to develop and implement a long-term program to boost financial literacy throughout our country. This most recent effort in reaching out to the very youngest of our population is the most recent part of that program.
Well, I definitely want to applaud the Central Bank for the initiative that is taken to ensure that there's, financial literacy from the youngest to the oldest. Now, the theme was, are foreign exchange controls relevant for the Bahamas? Talk about why this theme was selected.
Actually, this theme is something that we found particularly interesting because if you think about it, no Bahamian has lived to this point without accepting as an article of faith that its Bahamian dollar is worth exactly $1, 1-to-1. And if we ignore the technicality behind that, it's an extraordinary statement. We have a very small population, a very small economy, and somehow we're able to say we can stand shoulder to shoulder economically with the most developed, financially developed country on the planet. That is an extraordinary statement, but yet we as Bahamians accept it as an article of faith. That is all because of exchange controls. And we found it very interesting to give our youngest Bahamians an opportunity to look at that, make their own assessment, their own judgment, and decide for themselves, does this make sense? Is it still applicable? Is it still relevant?
It's definitely one of those things that will cause your brain to be ticking and trying to understand it even a bit more. Before we continue, I want to take a few minutes to show the viewers the winning video essay in the primary school category. Take a look.
Hello, my name is 𝗘𝗓𝗪𝗧𝗛 Burrows, and I am a proud 4th grade student from Exuma Christian Academy. I love donuts. If you look at a donut, it is round, and some have a gaping hole, while others, my favorite, have filling inside. Exchange controls operate a lot like the structure of a donut, providing a boundary so that we can enjoy the fillings inside. Exchange controls are a set of rules, regulations, and procedures which govern all foreign currency transactions between residents of the Bahamas and residents of foreign countries. They are government-imposed limitations on the purchase and/or sale of currencies. This is a form of capital control, which is an action taken by the government, central bank, or regulatory body to limit the flow of foreign currencies in and out of domestic economies. In the Bahamas, the central bank is responsible for overseeing foreign control regulations. I have researched and fully understand that foreign exchange controls are still relevant because it helps to ensure the balance of payments, which means that Bahamian money leaving the country is balanced with the foreign currency coming in. Take a look at this donut. In simple terms, the inside of this donut represents the central bank's foreign reserves. These reserves allow us to trade easily internationally and pay our debts. Let's say this amount is to $10,000. The central bank therefore prints it and circulates $10,000, which represents the value of the foreign reserves. Now, the central bank is supposed to ensure that the external or foreign reserves are maintained at 50% of the value of notes in circulation. If a tourist or investor spends $5,000 in the Bahamas to maintain the integrity of this donut or our reserves, $5,000 can be spent outside of the country without compromising our reserves. If for some reason government controls were not in place, Bahamians would have the option to spend as much as they want without regard for this balance. So let's look at another scenario without the control measures where our reserves are still $10,000 and again $5,000 is coming into the country. But Bahamians spend $10,000 out of the country. This means that we would have to destroy $5,000 to represent what the country has lost. To avoid all of this, financial exchange controls ensure that we do not release more than foreign currency that is coming back in. Currency devaluation is when currency falls in value compared to other currencies. This can happen where foreign exchange controls are relaxed. Jamaica and Guyana operate on a floating exchange rate. These countries' central banks do not guarantee the rate of which they will be exchanged and do not seek to recover their currency. These countries continue to print more money than equivalent to their reserves. Hence, today the Jamaican dollar is valued at $154 to one Bahamian dollar. This has caused lack of faith in trade and investment in this country and economic hardship that contributes to many local moving places like the Bahamas for work and more stability. In conclusion, it is clear that we need to stay within the boundaries of our donut and enjoy the circulation of money in a controlled way. We are fortunate to taste the filling of donut that has kept us economically stable for more than 40 years. Foreign exchange controls are still very much needed in the Bahamas.
That was Burrows, a primary school student at Exuma Christian Academy, which, by the way, swept the competition. Later in the show, the school's founder and director will be joining me to talk about what the school is doing to foster financial literacy in their students. Now, Kevin, tell me, why is it important for kids as young as Caden to learn about foreign exchange controls? Do you think it's information they are able to really grasp and remember at this age?
Well, I think for a lot of us, and parents will tell you, kids know more than we give them credit for. Yeah. And by giving the students an opportunity to do some research for themselves, they're going to require the assistance of their parents, particularly in terms of the research side. The actual video itself, kids can do this hands down, but they need the help of their parents in terms of understanding what's going on. So we end up with education for the children and then children teaching their parents. So we end up with sort of a double benefit from our efforts in this regard.
You're definitely looking at having to kill two birds with one stone with taking that approach and getting the parents involved. The 2022 competition was also open to college students for the first time. Talk about the decision to have college students participate in the competition.
Well, we already have in place a separate competition for college students called the 𝗖𝗎𝗪𝗧𝗛 Research Prize. It's a very in-depth technical research paper for college students. But we also felt that here is an opportunity for a more short form way of college students getting involved in terms of the research competition, the video competition that will give a larger number of college students an opportunity to compete even on this level, separate and apart from the more intense research prize.
All right, that's good to know. Kevin, we have to take a quick break. When we get back, one of the competition judges will be joining us. You're watching You and Your Money. We'll be right back.
With the help of our authorized financial institutions, or AFIs, using sand dollars is as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Step 1. Identify your preferred AFI by browsing their websites or contacting them directly. Step 2. Download the free mobile application from Google Play or the Apple Store and then register for a sand dollar account. Step 3. Load money onto your mobile app and begin sending and receiving sand dollars or purchasing and selling goods and services.
We are pleased to be
your central bank approved
digital wallet providers.
It does not matter
which of us you choose.
You can pay for goods and services
wherever sand dollar is accepted.
We are all in this together.
Visit sanddollar.bs for more information.
Welcome back to You and Your Money. If you're just now tuning in, Kevin Demeritte, External Relations Officer at the Central Bank of the Bahamas, is here. We've been talking about the bank's 2022 Financial Literacy Video Essay Competition, which fosters financial literacy in our youth. The bank recently announced the winners of the competition. Kevin, talk to us about the 5-member panel of judges you put together.
Happy to do so. When we were assembling the panel of judges, we were looking for 2 specific criteria. The first was that we wanted persons who understood the subject matter. And secondly, we wanted persons who had the ability to assess the videos from a technical perspective. We were very pleased that we were able to have judges who could satisfy both of those criteria.
Before we have one of the judges join us, I want to show viewers the winning video in the junior high school category. Take a look.
Hello, my name is Cassidy Burrows. I am 11 years old and an 8th grade student at Exuma Christian Academy. I live on the beautiful island of Exuma, and some days we have more than 5 international flights to our shores. Air Canada, Delta, Silver Airways, and American Airlines bring tourists here from all over the globe. Foreign exchange controls provide a statistical means of monitoring the inflows and outflows of foreign currency to and from the Bahamas. As tourists spend American dollars, this is income for the country. Controls help us to monitor this income. This value is factored into our foreign reserves and is a vital form of currency for the country to pay its bills without having to engage exchange rates. For this reason, I believe that these controls remain relevant for the Bahamas. Additionally, foreign exchange controls also help us to maintain our one-to-one parity with the US dollar, preserving our dollar value. Article 4A of the Bahamas Exchange Control Regulations submits that foreign currency means any currency or notes other than what is issued or produced by the Central Bank of the Bahamas. The legal basis for the foreign control policy of the Bahamas is the Exchange Control Act of 1952 and Exchange Control Regulations of 1956. But let's go back to the time of the Arawaks and Lagans. Back then, there was a barter system for goods. For example, one tribe may have traded cotton for the other's timber, whilst another tribe would have traded onion for coconuts. Over time, we've evolved to paper and digital currency. Exchange control policies relate to paper money or notes, and this monetary system acts as a standard of value, making it easier for people to compare the value of goods and services according to a uniform reference point. The standard value is an agreed upon worth of a transaction in a country's medium of exchange. Governments have 2 basic policy options to manage exchange rates: fixed exchange rate and floating exchange rate. In Belize, the value of its currency has been fixed to the ratio of 2 Belize dollars to 1 US dollar. In the Bahamas, our exchange rate is fixed and is currently pegged with the American dollar. The fixed exchange rate is another example of a control measure that maintains stability for a developing small nation with heavy dependence on tourism. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown tourism to be a very volatile financial resource. Our fixed exchange rates are therefore more advantageous compared to a floating exchange rate, where the market dictates the cost of foreign currency. Our economy benefits from the one-to-one parity with the US dollar. Because there is an international market for the US dollar, we are able to compete and conduct business locally and internationally. This has attracted business and investors to our shores. Even though we have all seen increases in the cost of goods due to the energy crisis caused by the Russian war in Ukraine, our dollar stretches a lot further than it would have if the value was less. Why risk that by removing foreign control policies? Like the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Finally, our foreign control policies help to preserve the value of our money. It is understood that the value of money is determined by the value for it. Currency value is directly linked to supply and demand. Therefore, our internal and external reserves can decrease if proper policies are not put in place to protect it. If financial controls allowed another currency to be used more often, it would give that currency more value and dominance in our dollar. Logically, over time, this would result in a devaluation of our dollar. The external reserves would eventually outweigh our local reserves. This poses a threat to the stability of our economy because there would be a lack of balance. Over the years, the Central Bank of the Bahamas has relaxed exchange control measures in accordance with national strategic planning and global trends. These changes, however, are not to be confused with the complete removal of foreign exchange regulations. As I close, foreign exchange control is not a simple concept or issue to contend with. I believe the frameworks for foreign exchange control are important to maintain our status as a stable, resilient economy. It is clear that continued foreign exchange regulations are needed in the Bahamas, as the prospect of change at this juncture isn't wise when simply unnecessary.
That was Cassidy Burrows, a junior high school student at Exuma Christian Academy. Cassidy is one of 4 students at Exuma Christian Academy who excelled in the competition. Joining us now is one of the competition judges, Rupert Pinder. Rupert is the Director of Electronic Communications at the Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority, better known as 𝗓𝗏. Rupert, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Rupert, talk to us about the judging criteria. What were the judges looking for?
Well, first off, I think we were certainly, as Mr. Demeritte would have alluded to, happy with the overall quality of the responses. But first up, it was really in terms of research and the ability to incorporate that research in terms of the overall production of those videos. So one of the things here is really to the extent to which the topic was well researched, and that certainly came out in terms of the ability of the participants to articulate in terms of the research material, also in terms of creativity and the use of that material as part of that overall research.
You talked about the research as well as the level of creativity. As you know, students at Exuma Christian Academy did very well in the competition. What was it about the video essays from the Exuma Christian Academy students specifically that set them apart?
Well, I would have alluded to earlier in terms of the overall creativity, and certainly to the extent to which the subject matter was well researched. I found particularly among the younger participants is that their overall passion for the subject that certainly came through. So when you look in terms of the whole topic in terms of financial literacy, it's so important to involve young people, with respect to this subject, but certainly in terms of their passion, that obviously came through with the videos.
It's interesting that at such a young age, you can see passion from children having to come forth in such a grand topic. Aside from understanding the foreign exchange controls, what do you say, Kevin, is the hope of the impact of these video essay competitions?
One of the things that we spend a lot of time, a lot of energy in terms of thinking about the competition is when you start off young, you build an interest and a passion in students going forward. And students do 2 things. Not only do they learn, I think I mentioned this previously, they teach their parents. Yeah. And for us, that is the ultimate goal, that Bahamians of all ages have a better understanding, a better appreciation for the financial services sector and the financial world that we live in.
Kevin and Rupert, I think you did an amazing job having to talk about the competition and the participants, what it actually looks like, and even the impact on not just the student, but the parent as well. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Coming up next, Exuma Christian Academy's founder and director will be joining us to talk about the secret behind the school's success in the Central Bank's Financial Literacy Video Essay Competition.
With the help of our authorized financial institutions, or AFIs, using sand dollars is as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Step 1. Identify your preferred AFI by browsing their websites or contacting them directly. Step 2. Download the free mobile application from Google Play or the Apple Store and then register for a sand dollar account. Step 3. Load money onto your mobile app and begin sending and receiving sand dollars or purchasing and selling goods and services.
We are pleased to be
your central bank approved
digital wallet providers.
It does not matter.
Which of us you choose,
You can pay for goods and services
wherever sand dollar is accepted.
We are all in this together.
Visit sanddollar.bs for more information.
Welcome back to You and Your Money. Keniqua Burrows is the founder and director of Exuma Christian Academy. Students from the school placed first in the primary and junior high school categories of the Central Bank's third annual Financial Literacy Video Essay Competition. Students from the school also received a semi-finalist placement in the junior high category and an honorary mention in the senior high school category. Keniqua, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Keniqua, tell us, what's the secret to the school's competition success?
Well, I don't know if there's a secret. I know that we have a very competitive school program, and we teach financial literacy at Exuma Christian Academy. I think that schools today are becoming more conscious and aware of the fact that education today is a lot different than it was many, many years ago, 50, 100 years ago. And in order for our students to be ready, to be 21st century ready and ready for global domination and to succeed in whatever they do, they need to have a good grasp of their finances. And it follows logically that we would want our students to be in the best position to succeed, to ensure that they have an awareness of what money is for, the purpose of money, and how best they can maximize their financial resources. But also on the island of Exuma, when you think about it, our school did really well, as you mentioned, but there's another school on this island as well that did well, Exuma, the St. Andrew's Anglican School. They were semi-finalists as well in the primary division. And so for the entire island, we're very pleased because Exuma is a hub for tourists. There's a lot of money coming in and out of Exuma. So I think that this speaks futuristically to what we are thinking of on the ground and how we're starting to raise a new generation of family islanders and of young children in understanding the power of money and how to manage money. And so we're just very fortunate at Exuma Christian Academy to be able to lead the charge for this year. And so we're grateful.
We definitely want to commend you and the work that you are doing at your school and having to implement and teach the financial literacy in your school. We know that by teaching financial literacy in schools, students will grow up to become financially literate adults. But would you say that financial literacy benefits them now?
Well, we all know, if you're a parent, you know that our kids always have money. As a matter of fact, sometimes they have more money than us. And we often have to purchase things and ask them, do you have that extra $5 or that $10? And my husband reminded me the other day, he said, we're already making a difference in our household with the way our kids are spending money and understanding money. When we were young and our parents borrowed money from us, they never gave it back. But we return money to our kids and we don't have a choice because we have a daughter, Kaylee, she will charge you interest. Okay. So I think that, in the future, yes, the kids need to understand finances, but right now they're handling money. They have allowances, they have lunch money, they go to the tuck shop, they go to the food store. And so kids, money is running through their hands now. And so they need to understand now the value of it. And so this is an important thing. And I think that parents everywhere need to be more conscious and help in teaching kids that money is not for spending, okay? Money has the potential to inform your life and your decisions and how you use it. It can actually be the difference between having a comfortable life, living an impoverished life, even your health. It's a lot. So we have to now change the framework mentally for children. When we put money into their hands, they need to understand this money has value and I can multiply this money by the way that I use it, or this money can devalue. I can spend it all, or I can be left with none of it. So it's a lot to consider, but certainly kids need to know that now.
One of the things that actually came to mind as you were talking about your interaction with your kids and their involvement with money is, you know, when I take my kids to the store with me, they are having to be engaged and having to look at pricing as well. So these are some of the things that we definitely can continue to do in terms of helping to foster financial literacy with our kids. You happen to be the mother of 2 of the competition winners. Kevin mentioned it earlier, you know, in terms of there being you know, us having to kill 2 birds with 1 stone in terms of the students being involved as well as the parents involved. How involved were you in the video essays, and is teaching financial literacy in school a good strategy for helping parents to become a little bit more financially literate?
Oh, wow, these are great questions. My husband and I were very involved at the beginning in terms of getting them excited about it, because the thing about our children is we're really blessed. The kids are very self-regulated, and we have 4 children. We have a 1-year-old as well. So it's important that the 3 older ones, they can manage themselves. Now, they have their own personalities. They're very opinionated. You can't just throw something in front of them and tell them to do it. They need to understand it. That's the kind of kids that we have. So that is a blessing. So in that vein, we were more acting as facilitators. We were just there to guide. And there were times when there were misconceptions that had to be understood, and we would meet as a family and make sure we were on one accord in terms of our understanding of the topic. There were times that we understood it differently than our kids did, and that caused some frustration, or they understood it in a different way than we did. And so we all had to do research. The big thing about all of this is Google has made it a lot easier. Kids can go on the internet. They don't have to be in the library all day. And so they were able to do a lot of independent work. But we were happy and blessed that our kids, for the most part, were able to regulate themselves and infuse their personalities. You would have seen probably, I don't know if you saw the video, but our eldest Cassidy, she is very direct. She's very mature, very methodical. She's also very reserved, and she showed her personality. Haley is more theatrical, so she's going to be the one doing the dancing and the singing and bringing all of that into it. And our son, 𝗘𝗘𝗧𝗧, he just has a ball of personality. He's very funny. He's just the joy of the house. And so all of these 3 elements of their personality shown, and that was important to us, that they represented themselves well. So it's just a blessing. And definitely, I think that this competition does help parents to become more financially aware. We didn't understand the topic at all. My husband knew a little bit more than all of us. He's actually a lot better with money than everyone in the house. So he was able to explain some stuff, but he even was a little lost about some things, because there were some questions that came up. Well, what happens when we don't have a balance? What happens? What's going to happen? So it was just very interesting, the way that we were able to delve in as a family. It worked out very well. So we're grateful for that.
Well, I definitely want to congratulate you and your family for the work that you would have done, even in terms of the amount of time and effort and energy that you would have put into the research component and having to produce such stellar results at the end of the day. Keniqua, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was truly a pleasure.
Now, tell people, where can we go to learn more about Exuma Christian Academy and the curriculum?
Okay, so we are on the World Wide Web. We have a website, www.𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗧𝗏. We are also on social media. We have a TikTok. We are on TikTok. We're on Instagram, and we're on Facebook. And we can also be contacted traditionally on the phone at 336-4ECA.
All right. Thank you so much again, Keniqua. That's it for today's show. Don't forget to follow You and Your Money on Facebook, and tune in next week for a brand new episode. I'm Ria Christina. Thanks for watching.